Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Wednesday night is truck night in the Sim500. It's going tonight's race is Jeff McConaughey and Joe White.
All right, good evening, race fans. Welcome. We're live here at Daytona International Speedway. About to grid these bad boys up, and like the intro said, it is truck night here for the Kick-Ass Beef Jerky series. And I tell you, well, we've been off a couple weeks here, and wow, it has been interesting. And I got to give a shout out to the Sim500 gang. Thank you. Last Wednesday, I wasn't here, and I gave a shout out there to American Sim, who put the show on, stepped in for me. My youngest had eye surgery, so I really appreciate the guys here at Sim500 understanding there, and all the fans, viewers there, and appreciate, like I say, American Sim for stepping in on it there. But hey, tonight, Daytona under the lights. We got super speedway with the trucks. Jeff, man, I tell you, Daytona can be a wild place.
Yeah, it definitely can. It can really, really be crazy with some races. But tonight, I think everyone's hoping for just a calm, cool, collected race. 80 laps here, so not too long. But still, that's a good distance around here. That's what, 200 miles, I want to say? Yeah, I think 200 miles. So it's a long distance for these drivers. They just need to keep calm, cool, and collected and come out of this thing clean.
Yep, there we go. We're getting set here to go green flag here tonight, folks. And I tell you, It's going to be interesting as these guys are pulling off onto the grid. The pace truck's going to pull us around here. I'll take us a lap, and we're going to get set here to go green flag tonight, Daytona style. Oh, it's going to be a lot of side-by-side, fender-to-fender style action. These guys, man, are to get out here and 80 laps. Gonna be a good one. Now, tire limits, they're still involved here. They still have 3, and that has been something else that we've seen that has, to me, made the racing very, very interesting here. Because with that limit, which I guess really won't be so bad tonight, Daytona, because you don't take a lot of tires at Daytona anyways. But that limit has really been interesting when cautions start to fly. As we're getting set to go green, pace truck's going to drop off, and we'll talk about that more as the race goes on. And like I say, here tonight, Daytona might not be much of an issue as opposed to, boy, was it at Dover and the other one there. The green flag, we're racing here at Daytona.
Now, a name that you might not be seeing here, but you might be missing, Anthony DeBarro. He's actually a little late to the party. He didn't make the grid here for this race. That's going to be trouble for him. He's usually a very strong contender. Now he's in a little bit of trouble, definitely behind the 8 ball. Tommy Ryan, though, leading the way, and behind him, Timothy Johnston. Trey Edson now sliding back on the outside behind the 97. That's Thomas George. Everyone's trying to find their place in line. Tommy Ryan moves up to the top and gives away the lead.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, right now, like you just said, got to get what you can get. It's going to 2x2 all the way through the field. With these trucks, they'll be locked up like this for a while. And you talk about there with Anthony DeBarro, kind of being behind on the 8 ball. Here's the thing. I have seen it. I've seen guys start in pit road 2 laps down at Talladega and come back and win the race. Now, I mean, it's a tough thing to do, but it is doable. And I've always said, not saying the qualifying doesn't matter here, but you can start the front, the middle, and the back, pretty much take this thing to the front and win it.
Yeah, what's most important here is just keeping the thing in one piece. Don't take any damage you don't need to take. Don't make any dumb moves that could cause a caution early on. How about Jason Barham, though, working his way up? Now he's 4th on the inside line. He's had a lot of bad luck these past few weeks, but that kick-ass beef jerky truck is working his way up through the field.
Yeah, it is. Right there, Jason Barham, like you said, looking really good. Brian Macklin up there, Randy Yoakum, you got Tyler Overstreet. This is one of these wild card style races. Anybody could win it here. Out front, Tommy Ryan still holding it. Thomas George right there along with him. Timothy Johnson's hanging on to the 3rd spot. But that's going to change just really, really quick because everybody right now is kind of glued side by side.
Yeah, glued side by side like you mentioned, and you're not going to see too much side drafting or anything early on. Everyone's just playing nice so far, being calm. Now you see Tommy Ryan, though, up at the front. You see on the outside, though, Thomas George trying to get himself clear. Pushing him is Trey Edson. Now the 97's clear. He's going to slide on down in front. Next in line is going to be Tommy Ryan behind him. Let's see if Tommy Ryan pushes or waits for a gap up top and then tries to go around again.
Got to give a shout out to Justin Fuller pulling a win off last week in the road course there, Mid-Ohio, putting the Ford F-150, which we've talked about in the last couple of weeks, the first win for the Ford here in the Sim500 KickAssBeef Jerky Truck Series. So that was an awesome feat. Justin's been close the last couple of weeks with it, just ran into some issues, but doing it right there at the road course last week, awesome win for him. Tonight, we'll have to see who pulls this thing off. It's Thomas George, the man out front. Tommy Ryan's along with him there on the outside. They'll probably swap that position several times throughout this whole entire race.
3 wide. Yeah, they're going to swap it quite a lot. Now they're 3 wide at the front. That's Trey Edson all the way on the outside, but he's going to get hung out to dry here. Just nobody went with him. He could have slid in right there. He still can slide in, and he will. Man, he's lucky that didn't go a lot worse for him, but that run on the outside line is killed.
Got to give a heads up to Randy Yoakum there because I think he checked up a little bit, checking the field, and actually opened that up for Trey Edson. I mean, because you're right, Edson was up there, and he would have been a sitting duck where he was and probably would have just fallen all the way back. But, heads up there, looks like Randy Yoakum maybe, tied up a little bit, helped him out, put him in there. You've got Tyler Overstreet there in the mix too, but Boy, all the way back here, you got to look a little further back. You got Nick Silver, Steve Goschak, Brian Wortman right there again up in 16th spot. Oh, Joey Katina, don't count him out, boy. He loves plate track racing. He's back there in 20th. Brian Boris Cook into this one, too. He's up there in the 20th. Just looking back, and looks like, well, you were talking about Anthony DeBarro. Looks like, yeah, he's still in there. He's not here yet, I don't think, is he? And Chad Coleman. I don't know what happened to Chad Coleman, but he has lost the draft huge. I don't know what happened to Chad.
Yeah, I was just taking a look at that. I'm trying to find if this was something intentional that he did. He wanted to be away from everybody else. Yeah, looks like from the start he was just way off, but we started from the pits. Yeah, that's what it was. Also, another big player here that's not in this race, Jose Gonzalez. He's not in the race, and he was very strong here. He won the Daytona 500, the opening race of this season.
Yeah, and just to name something too, these guys do have drop weeks. Some of them, obviously real life things come up and involved and so forth and so on. So maybe that's what's happening to some of these guys. They definitely could have a drop week there. Shane Ewing back in 28, he's got some good racing. I mean, you just got to look all the way throughout the field. It is side by side, all the way back to about 38, 40th, something like that.
Yeah, everybody's out here fighting. Nobody's wanting to just fall off and ride around, but we've run 7 laps so far. Tommy Ryan still holding on to the lead. Trey Edson's been doing a lot of pushing here tonight. I bet he's sitting there wondering when Randy Yoakum is going to get up to him, push him up towards the front, and it'll be his turn to lead. Yeah,
right. And like you just said, these guys have been very, very patient up front. Tommy Ryan's trying everything he can to stay out there. He's got Thomas George pushing really well. Trey Edson up top there. But all these guys have been very patient early on here in the race. You can see, kind of, not getting up there on the back bumpers too much, just kind of staying off of it. Textbook drafting is what I like to call it out here. And so far, Ryan down low, he's got a whole freight train of machines down low and a whole freight train up high. I got a feeling that high lane might get a good run. They're testing the waters with a bump draft down the back stretch, but they're being very gentle going into the turns, which that'll change with about 10 to go.
Yeah, everyone's going to get a lot more aggressive later on, but right now everyone's just sort of chilling. They're leaving a little bit of space, like you said. There's actually quite a bit of a gap, about a full truck length from the 28 back to the 4. That's Timothy Johnston, and behind him is Robert Gillenwater, leaving just a lot of room. We're seeing some bump drafting up towards the front. That's Thomas George giving a good shove there to Tommy Ryan. Nothing in the corners. Don't want to bump anyone while you're in the corners here. You want to just ride around and be patient.
Yeah, right there. And good run between all these guys, like you just said. So far, it's all Tommy Ryan up front, leading this one at Daytona International Speedway under the lights here for the Kick-Ass Beef Jerky Truck Series. We're back at it here, truck racing here tonight. It's a good run, but Trey Edson trying to do what he can do up front. See if he maybe can't muscle his way and get in, maybe lead some laps here.
Maybe he can up on that outside. Now he's dead even with Tommy Ryan. Tommy Ryan led that lap by 0.034 seconds. That's the gap between first and second there. Trey Edson with a good run on the outside, but he just needs to get clear. He needs the help of the 8 car, Randy Yoakum, behind him.
He does. Right there, like you said, Tommy Ryan still holding the top spot. Looking over a little further back, because everybody's just bunched up right now. You've got Brian Macklin about the 5th to 6th place spot. Run up front here for Trey Edson, but Daniel Falkenham yellows out. It's a big one.
31 of Eric Arnold involved. A lot of rear end damage there. Brian Macklin may have been involved. Taking a look. Oh, yeah, the 31 and the 60 just came together.
We got, watch this replay right here real quick. Watching here right along with Shane Ewing. We'll see.
A little bit of net code between them.
Okay.
A lot of net code there between the 31 and, who is that, the 10? Yeah, Richard Beasley. He took a lot of damage there without ever hitting anything.
I'll tell you what, Shane Ewing, through the grass. What a heads up run for him right there. Wow. Let's go on Richard Beasley here. Go back on it. Looks like also, you know, Justin Fuller had, you know, kind of sway around. E.J. O'Rourke had to sway around on this one. Let's watch it again here. And it just, things like this just happen so quick here at Daytona. Oh, yeah. Oh, Richard Beasley, though, through the grass. Saving that thing. Wow. So a lot of guys, looks like they pretty much just slid through the grass there on that one. So not too bad, like E.J. O'Rourke and company.
Right, just, you know, at that point, take it through the grass and hold on to it. It's not easy to do, to run it through the grass, but you can make it work, and if everything works out for you, you're avoiding the wreck, it's always good.
Now it will be interesting as we see Tommy Ryan on pit road, and it looks like he took 2 tires. And we got to take it back to the tire conversation. Remember, they have 3 sets. That's 3 full sets. So, and I hope I explained this right. Tommy took 2. That means he still should have his right side left, plus 2 other full sets. My understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're going to see a lot of 2 tires here. So I don't think the 3 tires limit really will affect too much here at Daytona like it would when we seen at Dover and the other track there. I think it's here, tires don't fall off. I mean, we talked about it last night with the 87 car. Tires, you use tires a lot with that car. But with these trucks, no. You could actually, you really only had to maybe change 1 set in an 80-lap race. You could get away with it.
Absolutely. Tires aren't really the end-all be-all for these cars, so you can get away with not changing them. The only difficult part that comes up is if you're doing a green flag pit stop. That trek off of pit road is icy, it's slick, and it's very, very, very easy to spin out if you don't get it absolutely perfectly. You got to be careful when you're exiting the pits, but that's about the only time where it gets pretty difficult.
I agree with you on that one right there. What's up, Logan? How you doing out there? Well, appreciate everybody tuning in as we're in the caution here for the first time tonight for the Kick-Ass Beef Jerky Truck Series. And, let's see. Well, never mind. I was going to see if we can get a word in with Tommy Ryan, but I noticed the lights are off on the pace car. That's something that you said that they changed a lot, and we've seen it change. Is they only do 3 laps now, and they used to do about 4 or 5 around here, so a little bit quicker around the super speedways. Hopefully, maybe we'll get a talk in, or hopefully we'll talk with Tommy Ryan and Victory Lane, or maybe top 3. But if not, if there's any more cautions or anything, we'll maybe get a word with him. Hopefully it goes green the rest of the way. I mean, these guys have it. I've seen them. You know, we talk about difference in Daytona. There's just some things you just can't, you can't predict, and you just can't help. A lot of times, accidents are going to happen in racing. But I have seen these guys here at the Sim500. They've done caution-free plate races before, or just a couple. So, not out of the norm for them to get it done. But we're getting set to go back green flag here. Pace trucks in. Looks like Brian Boris Cook is going to be the man up front. Didn't make a pit stop, but boy, I tell you what. And he's going to utilize and see, which he should be okay up there. I don't see that those older tires will actually be a disadvantage to him,
No, I don't think it'll be a disadvantage to him at all. He's just going to be a little bit lighter on fuel, so he's banking on another caution that he doesn't think they're going to do a full fuel run here. So he might be right, he might be wrong. That's the only thing that could really hinder him here. But yeah, the old tire's not going to make a big difference.
Now, right now, though, they're trying to push him to the front the best they can. Brian Boris Cook right there up front, but you see Tommy Ryan already taking over the lead right there. Also, Brian Macklin up top. Robert Gillenwater right there along with him, and the Ford machine, Thomas George, Randy Yoakum. We got to give a shout out to old Thomas George. Not had the season he wanted so far. Tonight, he definitely could turn that around, coming out here with a good finish, or maybe putting it in a victory lane.
That's always a good way to start things out, and you just get a good win, a good solid run even, can really turn the whole season around. I think that would be a great thing to see here tonight, just to get a little bit of momentum built and then go from there.
The flip side of it here at Daytona is this place, I've always called it a wild card style race. Any of the plate races, Talladega, Daytona, and anybody could come out here and win these style races. But on the flip side and the flip coin of it, you got to look. You could come out here and have all the hopes in the world, but they can be crushed just like that, because accidents, it's not usually if, it's when the big one will happen. And when the big one happens, sometimes it's out of your hand where you are. So it's really a chess match on a race like this. It takes a little bit out of the driver's hands. You got to put a little bit of luck and be at the right place at the right time.
You're right. This is a 200-mile-an-hour game of chess for these drivers out here, and they have to be careful. They have to be smart. And they have to sort of out-strategize other drivers as Tommy Ryan goes right down below the double yellow, doesn't make any passes. But, man, that truck just stepped out on him, but he manages to hold on to it. What a great save.
Absolutely.
Now that puts out in front, that is the 30 car, it looks like, of Brian Macklin, who's having himself a really good run here from 12th all the way to 1st. Brian Boris Cook, definitely the biggest move of the night. Started 38th, now all the way up to 4th. We still got 35 cars on the lead lap as well.
We do, and they're all bunched up side by side and nose to tail all the way throughout the field. And like you just said right there, these guys definitely are putting in work, doing what they need to do, being very, very patient early on. You'll feel the heat start build on the track, and these guys will start pushing the envelope as the race goes on. Right now, it's just really early, 17 into 80 here. We talked about last night, the 87 car was definitely a throwback, but these right here, the Gander truck, such different machines, way different in driving styles. And you can see right now they stay hooked up, tandem style draft and so forth, so on. Don't have the speed that we're seeing because these are plated style trucks, so the horsepower is way down. And that's another thing why they're hooked up like they are. But you can see these things dancing around out there. That's a handful for any of these drivers.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's not as bad as the 87 cars. They don't move around that much, but you can definitely have one of these things step out on you, and it can all go south very, very quickly.
Yeah, it does. And back here, Scott Stencil. That's a man who was familiar with the trucks here in the real NASCAR side of things, as he has actually drove, several of them there. He's sitting in the 10th place spot, so he definitely knows a little bit about what it takes in the real world to get one of these things wheeled around a track like this. And, something that, we don't talk a lot of, we always use our word momentum, which this track is not momentum. This is all draft here. So there's really, you can, if you let off the throttle, obviously you're going to lose some momentum. But for the most part, momentum doesn't play a factor too much, as the draft is a huge factor here. But he definitely knows how to wheel it, and the mental and the psyche of getting around here, because being right there in the middle of the pack, Jeff, like we're seeing where he's sitting in 10th right now. I mean, he's up top. He's right there running about 180, 170 mile an hour inches on a guy's bumper. That truck's just bouncing around. That's going to play into your mind there as a driver throughout the race.
Well, you're absolutely right. And what it all boils down to at the end of the day, no matter what happens, you have to be there at the end. So I think going forward, the strategy for these guys is going to be a lot of maintaining. We're seeing a little bit of aggressive driving there by the 4, Robert Gillenwater. He's right up on that back bumper, the 63 of Brian Boris Cook, pushing him in the corners a little bit. Nothing too crazy yet, but definitely some drivers are starting to get the urge to get up and go. We're a quarter of the way through this race already.
Absolutely. Saw him right there. On the back stretch, I've noticed a lot of them doing a lot of, I don't want to say bump drafting, but they're hooking up to those bumpers and seeing how much they can actually push, and they back out going into the turns. You see it right here on the front stretch. There's a couple places you definitely do not want to push and shove unless it's maybe in the last lap going for the win, is obviously going into a turn, through a turn, out of a turn, into the tri-oval and out of the tri-oval through that. Those are usually the no-nos places. You don't want a bump draft. You don't want to get on the back of a bumper because it's easily, these trucks aren't as bad as, let's say, the Xfinity cars. They're probably some of the worst. You can hook the bumper on the Xfinity car very easily and turn one around. It's kind of flat on the trucks, kind of flat on the sides. Whoa, Brian Boris Cook, though, got way wiggly right there in the turn.
That he did. Robert Gillenwater had to back way off, and now that gives a whole lot of power to the inside line. You see them all grouping up. There goes Tommy Ryan to the outside, followed by the 97. Those two have been fighting quite a bit here, but now they are going to jump out to the front. Let's see if Tommy Ryan decides to pull the 97 clear. He's thinking about ducking down. He hasn't done it yet. I think he's trying to pull the 97 with him. Oh, there goes Tommy Ryan in front of the field.
Oh, going to bunch him up just a little bit, but you're right, Tommy
Green flag
Ryan
stays out. Now the caution's here.
Wow. Oh, and Brian Macklin was wild in that one, too. Let's go back and watch it one more time. We were following along with Brian Boris Cook right there, but you see Brian Macklin and Tommy Ryan were out front. Tommy went to go to the outside. He had the 97 pushing with him there. And we're coming into the tri-oval, and we just said it. In the tri-oval, out of the tri-oval. Yep, just barely caught the rear end of Tommy Ryan. I mean, it just hooked it just ever so slightly. Doesn't look like much damage. Oh, well, never mind. I didn't see the end part there. I was fixing to say Tommy Ryan was safe until
that's the 10
looks like
of Richard
Beasley came into the picture there and
but
cleaned him out.
Get an in-car of, if you can, get an in-car of Richard Beasley there. He
right.
wasn't, that camera angle looks pretty bad when you're looking at it, but if you get his in-car, he did everything he could to avoid Tommy Ryan. He dove it into the grass to avoid the wreck, but then he sees Tommy there. He stands on the brakes, throws the wheel to the right, but too little too late, unfortunately.
Well, let's see if we can't ride on board here with old Richard Beasley and see what happened. And again, that's what we were talking about earlier in the race. Sometimes you're along for the ride. You just don't know what happened. You're trying to avoid something here, and you do everything you can. Let's watch it one more time. And like I said, I thought Tommy was safe there for a minute, and unfortunately, and you can see, I mean, Richard just trying everything he can. That truck just goes out of his way, and he's in the grass at that point. Once you're in the grass, there's just nothing you can do.
Yeah, those cars won't turn in a 10-acre field, unfortunately. Now we're seeing some pit stops up towards the front. I think we're going to see some people top off on fuel. We're about 23 laps into this race so far. And these drivers are starting to now get a bit antsy. We're on caution number 2, 23 laps in.
And I got to get my hats off here because, unfortunately, this caution that came out, which, Tommy Ryan involved, our leader, helps Brian Boris Cook. Remember, he did not make the pit stop. So, but I'm going to tell you what. We got a lot of guys that just either took 2 tires or no tires or something because now, wow, Thomas George, who came into the pits there, and Brian Boris Cook, who was way up there at the tops back at 13th. Now you got Robert Gillenwater, Thomas O'Leary, Randy Yoakum, Scott Stencil and company, but like the whole top 9, it looks like they took 2 tires. Thomas George, Daniel Falkenham was the first to take 4. And to me right there, Jeff, that is what this tire limit has done. It has shaken up the league. It has really shaken up the racing and made it extremely unpredictable. race after race, we can sit here and say, "Oh, this guy's the fastest out there," but if it's not so more being the fastest anymore. You know, we always just say, "Well, racing's about the fastest guy," but it also, you've got to put the strategy in there too, and you've got to make the whole package from start to finish now in order to put this thing in victory lane.
You're right. I say it, feels like I say it every broadcast we do, but it's not the fastest car that wins. It's the first one to reach a line. You can be the fastest car all day, but if you make a mistake on the last lap, or, you know, you get taken out in a wreck, you overdrive it, something happens, you know, you speed on pit road, it doesn't matter if you're the fastest car. You just got to be the first one across the line, you know?
You know, and it's like Justin Fuller. You know, I hate to bring up the name there, and unfortunately he's already been caught up in a wreck earlier tonight, but, you know, last several weeks, he's fast week in and week out. I got to give my hats off to him there, and we have seen it, though. He was the fastest truck out here, and just messing up on pit road a little bit. Mental mistakes is what I call it, and just definitely wasn't able to capitalize. Now, last week, the Mid-Ohio race, definitely was able to capitalize there and put it in victory lane, so again, I congratulate him on that one. But, you know, prior to that, it definitely, like we were saying, comes to mind that it's not always, like you say, fastest truck, fastest car to win. You just got to be there at the end and put it across the line. Getting set to go back green, though, here at Daytona. Robert Gillenwater, the man out front. Thomas O'Leary's going to start alongside. We're here for the Kick-Ass Beef Jerky. And, folks, I tell you what, if you're looking for some awesome beef jerky, you know, Jeff's had it, I've had it, and many people. You see the little promo code down there at the bottom of the screen. Go to KickAssBeefJerky.com, put in promo code Sim500. They'll get you 19% off. And if you have not had any of it, I definitely highly recommend ordering some Kick-Ass Beef Jerky, because that stuff is just phenomenal. I don't know. I like it. That's all I got to say.
I agree. It's really, really good stuff. So if you're looking for something to chew on, that is definitely the way to go.
Yeah. So. Awesome. Well, green flag back in the air. We're back here at Daytona. It's been a good one so far. I mean, for the most part, these guys have been patient. You know, we've just seen a little bit of, you know, tagging here and there. Those two cautions out there, really just don't think that was just over driving or anything. It's just a product of plate track racing and, you know, just maybe a little bump at the wrong time, so to speak. But right now, Robert's the man out front. Look at this 08 machine on the high side. That's Randy Yoakum.
Yeah, the 08 up there is Thomas O'Leary, but Randy Yoakum is down there on the inside pushing Robert Gillenwater, pushing the 08. I believe that is going to be Scott Stenzel.
Yes.
It is. So now you see also on the bottom, Brian Macklin. He's working the inside line. Seems like the inside line's a bit more formed up, has a bit more speed here, but that can always change quickly. We are now 26 laps complete of this race of 80. These drivers are starting to feel a little bit of pressure, but they still are riding around just cruising.
Got to give us another thing there. Trey Edson, another one. I think he was caught up in that incident there with the Tommy Ryan, because he just entered the pits and came out. I don't know if he had a penalty or what on his pit stop, or if he did get some damage there, but unfortunately Trey Edson back in 34th position. He was one of the trucks that were up front, you know, battling for the lead there early on. But right now it's all Thomas O'Leary, and he's got Scott Stenzel pushing for everything. And remember, Scott Stenzel, if you're not familiar with that name, he runs in real life in the truck series, or he did. I think he still does in the truck series there. So he knows a little bit about what it's like to get these things around here and maybe draft and hook up, as right now he's trying to push that machine of Thomas to the front. But down low, Robert Gillenwater's the man holding on to the top spot, as they are still side by side racing all the way through the field.
Side by side through the field, like you said, and having that real life experience can definitely help. And if I'm the 08 of Thomas O'Leary, I don't think there's anyone I'd rather have behind me pushing. He knows what he needs to do, knows how hard he can push this thing. Literally in every sense of that expression, how hard he can push it. But he's doing a really great job back there. Second on the outside line, really doing what he needs to do here. Just about 28 laps into this race. Don't need to do anything crazy. Just need to stay up there and stay consistent.
I'll tell you another guy you need to keep an eye on right there, man, in the 14, Joey Katina. He has won here in the Truck Series at the plate tracks before. He loves the Daytona, he loves Talladega, and right now he's sitting in the 6th place spot.
David Comstock as well, another driver that's worked his way up. David Comstock's our 31st, now he's up to 8th. How about Jeff Ryan, 40th up to 9th? His teammate slash brother, Tommy Ryan, is pretty much out of this race with a lot of heavy damage there. I imagine that he is now up there coaching his brother, helping keep him calm and getting him around this track here. Now he's sitting back there in 9th place. He's down on the inside line. That's the iRacing paint scheme, the blue and white one. Just cruising at the moment. He's getting right there on the inside line, not getting too close, not getting too far back either. Just doing what he needs to do. It's all about the last lap here. And lap 30, you don't need to be doing anything crazy.
I'll tell you, I got asked here, Jeff, when I ran at Daytona and the plate tracks, I never really liked being in a position where Jeff was. I'd either like to be, well, one either in the front or in the back, and most of the time I would run in the back till the end. But it seemed like every time I turned around, as much as I wanted to stay back there, the line formed up and I always ended up being up right where he's at or up in front. And I was always like, wow. And you just kind of hang on from that point. You know, that truck bounces around. You don't want to hit. What's your strategies on these things?
Well, the way I see it, there's 2 places you want to be. You either want to be in first, ahead of the wrecks, or you want to be way far back behind all the wrecks. Because either way, it's going to happen. You know the wrecks are coming. You know the big one always happens. So you want to be out in first place in front of it, or you want to be so far back that you can get on the brakes and stop before the wreck even catches you.
Absolutely. Well, nice looking old paint job right there on Thomas O'Leary. He says he's got the Tommy Boy towing company on the hood there, but look who's coming to the front. Scott Stencil and Joey Katina. Those two are pushing and shoving to bring them to the tandem to the front. Are they going to drop down? Is Scott Stencil? Yes, he's going to drop down. We see that a lot. Guy pushes it to the front. Man in the front there drops down, leaves his dancing partner out to dry. And then the next thing you know, here comes the high lane. That freight train is coming. I'll tell you, now they're going to be side by side to the line.
That's one thing when I'm out here running these races, I always make sure to do. You have to keep in contact with the people around you. Let them know, hey, this is what I'm doing. If you got someone pushing you, say to them, I'm trying to pull you to the front, or I can't pull you. I know you're getting hot, and then you jump down. But you want to keep in contact with them because that's something someone will remember later. And if you anger them and annoy them and, you know, basically bail on them when they push you to the front, then they'll remember that, and if you need a favor later on in the race, they probably won't give it to you.
There you go. Well, look at the 42, David Comstock. Now he is shoving Joey Katina to the front and run right back here on the bottom with Scott Stencil. So it's a back and forth seesaw race up front for the lead. As up top, Joey Katina, down low, Scott Stencil. David Comstock, that's a man very familiar with how to get around this track. Thomas O'Leary still there. Thomas George there in the mix. Robert Gillenwater, any one of them guys. But right now you can see David Comstock is just rubbing the paint off the back bumper of old Joey Katina's truck.
Yeah, he's trying to get him out front because as soon as the 14 gets out and drops down, that's going to mean that David Comstock can do the same thing, and he's going to try and hold on to the lead. Now he's going to be clear here, Scott Stencil. Let's see if Comstock drops to the bottom. Now, if he does, he could get to the left rear of Joey Katina, and then Katina can't come down just like that. That move was executed perfectly. Now he's leading the inside line. David Comstock has it, and you see he's going to work his way around Joey Katina. Leader at that last lap, David Comstock, after a really smart move there.
Yeah, it was. He dropped down. Now he's got Scott Stencil going to see if he can't push him and keep him out front. We'll see what happens. That high lane is just as deadly as the bottom lane. We've seen it all race long. With these trucks, they are different animals than what we see with the Cup car or anything. But look at that run up top there, and also with the 97 of Thomas George pushing. It does fall off a little bit heading into the turn, and then it just kind of equals back out, the bottom and the top. What we're going to see as this race goes on, though, these guys will start just leaning on each other, pushing for everything they're worth.
Right, and one thing you're not going to see later on is what you're seeing back there with Thomas O'Leary. He's left a full car length to Scott Stenzel ahead of him. Doesn't want to get involved in any wrecks, doesn't want to do anything too crazy. The same thing with the 4 car behind him. That's Robert Gillenwater. They're leaving a lot of space. But later on in this race, you will not see anything like that. They will be nose to tail. You couldn't fit a piece of paper between them.
Oh, absolutely. Right now, looking good. Brian Macklin riding along with him here, seeing what he looks like out his windshield. He's up top for the moment. Scott Stenzel's right there. Joey Katina. I mean, these guys, man, are just battling tooth and nail up front. And it's frustrating as a driver. We're up here looking at this as spectators, broadcasting, going, man, this is exciting. This is awesome racing. As a driver, you're sitting there now going, you got to be kidding me. Get me out of the middle of this stuff. It's like a traffic jam and a highway on a highway here at 5 o'clock rush hour, but you're running about 180 mile an hour doing it. These guys right now are just like, oh, I wish I could get away from the pack.
You're right, and there's really no room for error. This race is all about mental endurance, and you think 80 laps, it doesn't sound too bad, but it's exhausting. And we just saw a mental mistake there, just about from the driver in front. David Comstock pulled right up the track and really cut off the nose of the 14 car, Joey Katina. That was almost huge trouble there. Now there is big trouble as Thomas O'Leary gets up there into David Comstock. Very, very close call there. I'm wondering what they're doing up front. That's 2 drivers in a row now that have worked their way up to the outside line. The 3 wide a bit further back, though. That's for about 7th place. Man, these drivers are starting to get antsy. We're almost halfway through.
Well, you were talking about, I was wondering what they're doing. Brian Boris Cook went way up there to the high line. I mean, he's got Jurassic Park on there, and he looked like a T-Rex coming through the field, was about to chomp on some trucks. I mean, that guy came up there and had the high lane rolling, got up to that 9th place spot there and was picking spots off. Finally fell down in line. Scott Stenzel's trying to bring the high lane. Joey Katina falls back to the 6th and 5th place. It got a little hot and heavy, like you said, up front. I mean, these guys definitely right now, hats off to them. They are pushing and shoving early on, but they are maintaining their distance still. Again, well, about 5 to go. You could throw all bets are off then. These guys right now, they'll try to put that front bumper up in the passenger seat to push the guy.
Yeah, you got that right. Sooner rather than later, these guys are going to start getting even more aggressive. You see the 97, Thomas George, ducks down below the double yellow line. He's not going for a pass there. He's trying to get some air in that grill, keep the engine cool. That's another thing these drivers have to keep in mind. If your engine temps get too high, it'll blow right up. So if you do that, man, your whole race goes down the drain. You have to be careful here and keep an eye on your temperatures, plus not run into anybody else, and control the car at 185 miles an hour. Oh yeah, and there's 39 other guys around you doing the exact same thing. That's what makes super speedway racing so intense.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a checkbook right there that you just named off, and Scott Stenzel is definitely getting it done up front. He's got David Comstock, though, allracingbiz.com along with it, and it's all business for him to push Scott Stenzel for the moment to see if they can't get those 2 trucks out to the front in the lead. Thomas O'Leary down low. It is still a freight train. What's up, Mike K, doing out there? You're right. It is some awesome racing here at Daytona under the lights. Here with the Kick-Ass Beef Jerky Truck Series here at Daytona International Speedway. And right now, there's no give or take up front. I mean, throughout the whole entire field, just for that matter, there's just no give or take. It's all take right now. And you see Comstock going to the lead.
He goes to the lead now, pulls a crossover move on Scott Stenzel. I think Scott's going to remember that one because it cost him a lot. He's lost first, he's lost second, he's lost third now. Now he's about to lose 4th even if the 97 gets a good enough run. But up to the top moves, I believe that's Daniel Falkingham. It is. Now he's going to try and make a run for the lead with Scott Stenzel pushing him. These drivers are starting to get antsy. How about Jeff Ryan, though? Now he's worked his way. He's 4th on the outside line, 5th on the outside line. Just working his way around the track, being patient. He's got a truck length gap up to Brian Macklin ahead of him. Just being smart, being safe at this point. We're halfway through.
Yeah, it is. Boy, I'll tell you what, old Comstock's still out front here, but old Daniel Falkenham's up top. Scott Stenzel has been there all night long, pushing and shoving here to see if he can't get one of these trucks. I've always said it, being right where old Stenzel's at, that might be the place to be. As you see him right now, see if we can't get that high lane going. Brian Boris Cook hanging on to it right there in the 7th place spot. done an outstanding job. It is still side by side, door to door throughout the whole entire field.
What a great run so far for all of these drivers. They're really starting to fight and be aggressive here, though. Jeff Ryan, like I mentioned, 40th now, all the way up to 11th. We're seeing a little bit of patience out of him. We're seeing a little bit of patience out of the 8 car, Randy Yoakum. But other than that, man, these drivers are fighting with everything they've got. They're keeping it clean, and that's what's important.
Yes, it is. So you still got Thomas O'Leary out front, David Comstock there along with him, Daniel Falkenham, Thomas George, Scott Stencil, Joey Catina's back into it, Brian Boris Cook there. I mean, I don't know who in the world's going to pull this thing off, because right now it is, it's a kind of a crapshoot. Oh, bump draft up front. Almost got one of the trucks sideways. That looked like Daniel Falkenham for the moment, but man, he had to catch that truck.
Man, oh man, it's starting to get crazy on the inside line especially. David Comstock still leading the way. He's got Thomas George behind him, and Joey Catina is third on the inside line. They are a little less formed up than the outside line, but they are still getting a little bit more power. They're checking up a whole lot less. They are just bumping and beating and banging on each other's bumpers to keep those cars on the inside line up front. But they are dead even going down the backstretch. Maybe a bit of an advantage for Thomas O'Leary, but he's not going to be able to get clear over David Comstock.
Well, right now it is side by side with the 008 up top, and you've got down low David Comstock there in the Racing Biz machine. They are all door to door throughout the field, up to the front, all the way to the back as they storm out of the turn here. It is definitely a side by side. I mean, I don't know who in the world's going to pull this thing off. It's a good race up front and a good duel.
That it is. These drivers are duking it out, having themselves a great time. So that's what matters. That's exactly what matters. Is having fun out there. And that's what these drivers are doing. They're battling hard for the lead, 43 laps in.
Thomas O'Leary taking it to the front right now. He has got Daniel Falkenham, behind him pushing. But Thomas O'Leary drops down to the inside as the slower car. Unfortunately, their Trey Edson was up front early on, but now off the pace. Now you got David Comstock going to the high lane. Going to see if he can't take it. Again, Daniel Falkenham right there along with it. He has been an awesome pusher here all night long. And that's kind of, I think, what you want. If you could push somebody to the front, you have an opportunity to maybe, slingshot around that person later on.
Yeah, you can definitely use it to your advantage. I think right now here, the focus is just making sure you're making friends, not stepping on any toes and doing anything crazy here.
No, you're not. Daniel Falkenham still looking to run up top from the 08 there. Thomas O'Leary, Daniel Falkenham, David Comstock, Scott Stencil. Well, it kind of just flattens out a little bit up top, but it is still an awesome run throughout there, side by side through the field here at Daytona for the Kick-Ass Beef Jerky Truck Series. My hat's off there to old Brian Boris Cook. He's still hanging on to the 7th place spot there. It's a good run by him.
Certainly is. That's a really great run by him, having himself a heck of a day. Joey Catina as well having a great run throughout the night so far. 45 laps in of 80. David Comstock and Thomas O'Leary have really been duking it out for the lead here, but it's all about the guys behind them pushing too. Thomas George working the inside line, Daniel Falkenham up on the outside line. Whoever can keep their nose on the back bumper of the car ahead of them the most is going to be the biggest contributor to the guy ahead of them.
Yeah, it is. You got, like I said, the 42 machines pushing to the front there. David Comstock, Thomas George down low, Thomas O'Leary along with him, Daniel Falkenham, Joey Catina still in the mix there. So it's any one of those guys' ball game right now. Look a little further on back. And about the 10th, 11th place spots, you got Jeff Ryan still hanging on to 12th. Don Runkle Jr. there in 13th. Shane Ewing, no bombs watching out there up in the 14th. And just to let you know, Justin Fuller's still out there, but way down on some laps. He's back in 31st. And unfortunately, like we said earlier, guys like Trey Edson and Tommy Ryan caught up in a wreck earlier on, so definitely off the pace.
Yeah, and that's an unfortunate end to the night, but that's also at the same time plate racing. Sometimes you win big, sometimes you lose out. It's really, really difficult for Tommy Ryan because he was up there towards the front, not at all what you want to see happen. You're sort of running the front to avoid all that trouble, but, you know, you're never truly 100% safe from wrecks.
Well, one thing we have not seen tonight is the third lane come in. And we did see Brian Borscook for a moment jump up there, and that truck was coming through the front. I'm just wondering if later on in the run, by seeing that, somebody's going to test the waters up there. We'll just have to see as the race goes on. Up front, Thomas O'Leary still leading it as he's out front with that. And he's got David Comstock down low pushing him. Daniel Falkenham up high. Scott Stitzel still in the mix there along with him with Thomas George. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody maybe travels up to that third lane later on in this race.
Oh, I think they will. I'm almost certain they will. We saw a glimpse of it earlier, but once you can get that outside line rolling, man, you can really make something happen. Also, another thing with these trucks, you don't always... Whoa, very close move there for Daniel Falkenham. Was barely clear, but made it work. With these trucks, you can side draft, and if you do it aggressively enough, you can make a run up through the field without someone on your back bumper. A single car can work their way up through the field if you do it right. It's very difficult to do and not very common to see, but it can happen.
Well, we got some interesting things about to happen up here. We've got side-by-side for the pack. They're running up on a 3-car tandem up here that are lap down. Wanted to see what happens here. Are those lap cars going to jump up high? Because this pack is going to run them down huge. And that pack up there were side by side for the moment. That's kind of the first time we've actually seen them. We've seen them, you know, close in on maybe a single car or something like that, but never a pack of cars. It'll be interesting to see as they're coming up on some lap traffic here. And it's more than one car that they're going to come up on.
Yeah, and when you're racing up towards the front and darting around and being aggressive, you're kind of hoping that those lap cars will go all the way up to the top, but they don't necessarily have to. They are allowed to hold their own line and run their race, but thankfully, the lap cars here choose to go to the top, and they go 3 wide for just a second, but they'll all make it work out here. It'll be a clean run through.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure. Ooh, a little contact between Justin Fuller and another machine back there, but I'm not 100% sure on the ruling of here as far as lap cars. I mean, obviously we see them going high, and I do know that if you're a lot slower, and obviously that pack's going to run them down and blow right by them. I definitely hear it being a plate-style track race. I think that the ruling is stay high and let the leaders go on. But what you were alluding to is if the lap car was up there racing with the leaders, I'm all for it. They got all the right in the world to race with those guys as long as they maintain speed and so forth. And luckily, we got through that pretty clean, though, as Daniel Falkenham still out front. Thomas O'Leary there in second. Scott Stitzel has been able to hang on up top or up front for most of it. He looks like he likes that high lane here so far. He's not really traveled down low.
Yeah, he's been doing a great job just holding on and doing what he needs to do. I think he's having a lot more fun up on that outside, Scott Stitzel is. He's now got the 19 to Tyler Dalton pushing him. Not a bad choice at all with Brian Macklin behind. But that inside lane is strong. Some big names here for this series. Daniel Falkenham, Thomas O'Leary, and David Comstock. Those drivers are always competitive no matter where we go. And to have them all lined up on the inside, it's going to be hard to beat.
Let me just throw something out here for some folks, because I always used to love running the high lane, and maybe the reason why some drivers do is we're riding along here with Tyler Dalton. He is right behind Scott Stitzel sitting there. You can see for the moment right there, all he sees is a big spoiler and the back end of Scott Stitzel's truck as he gets closer. But the advantage of being up top, when you're going into the turn, you can see he can look ahead and see where the apron of the track is, and he's able to judge that, and you feel a little bit more comfortable up top. Well, in hindsight, though, let's go down here to Thomas O'Leary, who is on the inside. Now you see him from the inside. He's pushing Daniel Falkenham. All he sees is a big spoiler going into the turn. Boom, right there was a perfect example. All he saw was a spoiler. The next thing he saw, he's on the yellow line going into the turn. You don't see that heads up going in, and a lot of times that can upset the truck if you go down below that yellow line and the apron and the turns, and that sometimes can end up reason why you might wreck. Also, right there, we saw a good example riding along with him going into the trioval. So your vision is cut off if you're right there tucked up on somebody really close on the inside as opposed to being on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right there. These trucks, the big spoilers and everything, it's really hard to see, especially on the inside line, and that's another thing to consider here that a lot of people might overlook.
And I'll tell you what's even worse, it's not the trucks are bad, but boy, the Xfinity cars, as low as those cars are and as big as the spoilers are on the back, you really just can't see a lot there. And it was just a perfect example of what Thomas O'Leary is seeing. As long as if he backs off a little bit, he can see, but if he's tucked up underneath him, you'll come up on that bottom. So you're really at some point, and we've mentioned this before, and it was a good conversation we had once before on some cars. You're at the mercy of the guy in front of you to hopefully he holds his line, and you just basically follow him in there. But you get so focused going into a race that sometimes I've done it. You actually lock on to the car in front of you, and I've had guys actually drive me into the wall coming out of the turns before.
Absolutely, and you just get tunnel vision, and it's very easy to do, and that's what makes racing so difficult mentally, is you're focusing on so many things, and if you just get focused on that guy's back bumper and get tunnel vision, yeah, if something goes wrong ahead of you, you're going to really pay for it.
Absolutely. Right now, these guys are definitely dicing it up front. Daniel Falkenham got a nose out there with Scott Stencil up high. Thomas O'Leary still in the mix. Back here, Shane Ewing's moved up to 8. Brian Boris Cook there in 9. Thomas George hanging on to 7. Jeff Ryan has moved all the way up to 6, so the inside lane's moving in. And it does look like we've had some green flag pit stops. So it is kind of mixing up the field. We should be getting up here to some scheduled pit stops soon. We've only got 26 to go here at Daytona for the Kick-Ass Beef Jerky Truck Series.
That is absolutely the truth here. Pit stops are coming up, and this is another big strategy thing. Do you take tires? Do you know, what's your plan going forward here? Now, you can get away if you run the tank absolutely dry. Probably should take 4 tires, at the very least 2. And you're not going to be able to make it to the end. I think people are going to be taking 4 tires here.
That's a question. It's a really hard one to answer because there's just so many variables to play in. But you're right there. We've seen a lot of guys take 2 tires on the last caution. We've seen some take 4. If you took 4 on the last caution, I think 2 tires might be the safe bet this time around. If you took 2 the last time around, you could get away with taking the other side, but then again, 4 might be better. At a place like this, it's so tough, and boy, we got a lot of cars that just went into pit road. Looks like Thomas O'Leary and company, Jeff Ryan did. So Jeff, I really don't know. Strategy is I'd maybe give my insight on it. If I had taken 2 tires the last time, I'm probably going to take 2 tires this time. I'd probably stay with it. But if I took 4 tires last time, I'm definitely taking 2. So it really depends on where you're at on the track. I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a really tough call, and that's why it's so nice to be up here in the booth. All these drivers coming down pit road. Scott Stenzel, David Comstock. Man, standing on the brakes is Daniel Falkingham, but really fast in. Wow, that 24 went in really quick. I'm going to take a look back, make sure he wasn't speeding.
Well, it's Scott Stenzel coming in right now. He pulls into his pit stall. We'll have to see if he comes out.
Yeah, wow, what a great entry by Scott Stenzel. Gets it all down to speed,
and he made sure he got a little longer pit stop than I would have expected, though. 16-second stop.
He missed his box.
Okay, well, as if he said, something had to happen because he did not take 4 tires. We were watching his pit stop there. So, man, I'm going to tell you, that's disastrous. Now, again, any other track, I would say that probably was a mental mistake that could lose him the race. Here, though, the good thing about it is it's a plate race. He's coming out in a huge pack, so he's definitely not going to lose the draft or anything, and he's really not going to lose a lot. But at any other track, that stop right there probably would have cost him a huge amount.
Yeah, that would have ended his race anywhere else. Now it's just going to hurt his chances a little bit because you see David Comstock and Daniel Falkingham. They've hooked up. They're working together well. I think they are going to be... Oh, they're wrecking, though. Near John was saying the one car. No caution
held on to
yet.
it.
Wow, what a great save. Oh, no.
Oh, never mind.
No, they did not. But
Well,
there's still no caution.
Because they got off the track. Jimmy Coleman and company. Let's go back and watch because they were off. That actually started up there with the 4. Robert Gillenwater. Robert Gillenwater got on the apron and tried to hold on to that thing, and the 08 nowhere to go. And I'll be honest with you, the reason why no caution was thrown there, which I don't see why, there was a couple trucks right there on the apron, but I can see why on the other ones is, we even mentioned this last night. If you are far enough off on certain tracks, iRacing will not throw the caution. So and it looks like they were far enough off of it, which there was a couple right there on the apron. So I've said it a couple times before up here, Jeff, iRacing sometimes goes really long.
Yeah. So, that's strange. Jason Barham. Jason Barham is your leader, but David Comstock and Daniel Falkingham are in second place. Well, actually, the last lap around, Jason Barham was put as the leader. I think right
David
now...
David Comstock right there be the leader.
Yeah, David Comstock and Daniel Falkingham are now your leaders. Brian Macklin in third, EJ O'Rourke fourth, and they are coming up quick, very quick. They have now caught these front 2 cars. Now it's going to be a 5-car battle, 6-car battle.
And it's what I was saying before. We talked about Scott Stencil, the mistake there on pit road, but he is hooked up. And, give him a couple laps. He's got time to run down that pack up there. They're not that far away, and especially if those guys get side-by-side racing, and they should here soon. They definitely could be up there within the next 10 laps or so. Maybe give them about 10, 15 laps. They could get up there and be right back in this thing again. And obviously a caution, definitely they're going to get right back up there. But back up front, Brian Macklin, and look at this, EJ O'Rourke. He spun earlier in the race through the infield, and look where he's at now, leading.
What a comeback. Really what a comeback there for that car. But it's an 8-car battle up here for the lead. That's the front pack here. EJ O'Rourke leading the outside line. Brian Macklin leading the inside line. These guys are going to be duking it out, and I guarantee you they're hoping for no more cautions. They have enough fuel to make it to the end here. 19 laps to go, 18 at the line. They're now just out here running and trying to hold on to it and just hoping that there isn't a caution.
I'll tell you, EJ's got a little damage to the right, right rear there, but so does Brian Macklin. That will not affect him too much in a draft style. Maybe a little bit of handling wise on the cars. Daytona is a little bit more of a handling than what Talladega is. I don't see any damage to the front side of the machine, so that definitely won't hinder them when they get out front, and that's allowing them to stay where they are and stay with the pace of these guys. So luckily the damage is on the back. Now what would happen is if the more those guys tuck up behind them, they are probably feeling it. You see EJ right there. Boy, that jet truck just went all the way to the inside. Almost made contact.
Close call, but they managed to hold on to it. Some great driving all around here at the front. What awesome stuff here. Great racing.
Got to go back here again. Kind of right behind him, Nick Silver. Doing a good job up there in the pack. But let's go back here again. Remember we were talking about Scott Stencil? You've got Joey Katina back there in that mix. So that's kind of like the second pack. Now they probably need to form up single file Jason Barham there is kind of leading that one out there along with Doey Woods. I think they all need to kind of maybe get single file, hook up, and kind of just stay single file in order to run this front pack down.
Yeah, that's going to be their best bet, and hope that this front pack keeps battling. But man, oh man, this is some really. It's going to be a really difficult task to run down the leaders here. They're about 3.5 seconds back. It's going to be tough. Jason Barham leading the way for those guys. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do it, but because right now even the front pack is getting in a straight line of their own, and once that happens, man, it all goes out the window.
I've got to give a shout out. Look who's sitting in third place, Paul Moran. Hey, coming up front here, looking good, hanging on the third. Look at the high lane. Well, you can already see, you can tell right now with 16 to go, you can start seeing the temperature starting to rise on the track.
Tempers are flaring. Patience is running short here for these drivers. 15 laps to go. This is where things start to get crazy. We still haven't seen, well, we kind of saw the big one. So keep in mind, will we see another big wreck coming up here? That is yet to be seen.
Well, you got to throw the green, white checkered in there too. That definitely is one thing we got to look at coming out. We've seen some wild finishes at Daytona and all the plate tracks. These wild finishes throughout this series. Right now, it is setting up to be a good one. Daniel Falkenham, Brian Macklin up there leading it. Those two cars are trucks side by side. Paul Moran right there along with them. E.J. O'Rourke, Shane Ewing, Brian Borscook, who has been up there all night long. I don't know if you could pick a winner out of that whole bunch there. I don't want to jinx anybody, give them the broadcast jinx or anything, but I'll tell you what, let's see a guy like Paul maybe pull this thing out, or Shane, or even Brian Boris just pull a win off.
Yeah, that would be awesome to see, and this is a track to make it happen. Some of these guys that have just had really bad luck can turn it around here and have a good run. Paul Mulrain, like you said, Shane Ewing. Man, wouldn't it be cool to see him win? He did really well in the duels here earlier this season. Let's see if he can get done in a race, though.
We talked about that second pack, Doey Woods and looks like Chris Jabu formed up, and they have caught that pack, and look behind them, Scott Stencil. I said it'd take about 10 laps. Guess what? He's right there within the draft of that pack. So we're about to have about a 14-car battle for the lead here soon, as Scott Stencil and those companies back there now have caught the lead pack. So that mistake on pit road did not cost him as much as it could have, as he's back in the mix of this thing, and he's been up front there, the run. You got Jonathan Lockhart there in the mix too. Well, boy, look at this. Now it's a duel, side by side, 2x2. I mean, it is a whole pack, a hornet's nest of truck. I would not even try to fathom on saying who's going to pull this thing off. I would say this, if I was a betting man, I might bet that somebody's going to get jumped before the end of it.
Yeah, this is where things start to get crazy here. We're just about 13 laps to the end. Somebody's going to do something crazy here. It's always the pattern here at Daytona. It's just a question of will it bring out the caution? How many cars will it take out?
Absolutely. What's up, Steve Ovens? How you doing? Well, I'll tell you what, you're right. It has been fantastic. Plate track, especially with trucks, and you get the drivers like out here doing what they're doing. I mean, they have been, we talk about the mental psyche of it. They have been like this the whole entire race, locked up side by side. And you can see them bouncing around, moving around, trying to see where they need to put the truck to make it. Now is the time where in the back of your mind as a driver, you're going, I need to know what position I need to be in. What can I do to get to the front? Unless you start breaking it down. Remember, you can't go below the yellow line in these trucks. So if you're a guy like Brian Macklin is right there sitting in the 30 machine right behind the 41, if this is the last lap or a couple laps to go, you've only got a couple choices. One, you're pushing that guy in front of you to the lead and hoping you end up in second, because you can't go high, you can't go low. You're locked up where you are. But if you're a guy like Daniel Falkenham, or let's say Brian Borscook, let's go that further back. Brian Boris Cook, you do have options. You could take the third lane and hope that the crowd comes with you. Although, there's a flip side to that. If you do it, they might not come with you, and guess what? You can end up falling back and losing a lot of position. So you do have a little more options. Now, like where Brian Macklin is now, his option is he can go up high, and, well, just like what he just did right there.
Right, he makes a good move. They're getting a little dicier further back, though, but they all managed to work it out. Very close call there. I'm keeping my eye on Shane Ewing. I think he's got something here towards the end. I don't want to give him the commentator's curse, but keep an eye on him, and something could happen here. With Brian Macklin now to the lead. Daniel Falkingham fighting up on that outside line. E.J. O'Rourke pushing the inside line, trying to keep that side rolling.
Very good move by Brian Macklin. He saw the opening, went high, came around. That was a perfect textbook of about the only thing he could do at that point. That puts him in front. E.J. O'Rourke is along with him right there. And E.J. now falls a little further back as now Daniel Falkingham pushes to the front. Here comes Brian Boris Cook. So it seems like who is ever up top, and if they get a strong enough push by the guy behind them, they're able to get out front. So maybe that's where you need to be coming out of turn 4 here, is up top and have somebody just shove you for everything there's worth.
We'll have to see right now the outside line. They're sort of swapping here. Who's leading down on the inside by getting a good run up on the outside. But man, they are really starting to get wiggly here. 9 laps to go, 8 at the line. These drivers are starting to feel it. Well, they're fully feeling it now and are starting to really duke it out and push each other hard.
Absolutely. Brian Boris Cook for the moment has a fender out front. If I was him, I would not dive down to the inside. I would stay exactly where I am right now. And hopefully Daniel Falkingham doesn't make a wild move to the top lane as we see Doey Woods dive up there. Now they're getting really wrestling up front. But if I was Brian Boris Cook, I'd want to stay right where I'm at. I would not want to get down low because every time somebody's went low, the top lane just comes shooting right by them. I would want to stay right where I'm at and hope to the last lap and the last turn that David Comstock right behind me would just shove me as hard as he could to the front, because you can see it down the back stretch right now.
Yeah, you're right. Hanging up on that outside line is definitely good. We'll see if Brian chooses to jump down to the bottom if given the chance, because keep in mind, the 42 there of David Comstock is probably starting to heat up a little bit. And if that engine gets too hot and blows up, then he's really no help at all to Brian Boris Cook. So he's got to be smart, balance it out here, and just, make sure he doesn't do anything crazy or throw something away. Now it looks like Comstock had to back off. Boris Cook left up there all by his lonesome.
We can see them trucks bouncing around, wrestling right now. I mean, those things are all over the place. They are wheeling it. Now you got Brian Macklin moving up to the top lane. I just feel like that top lane might be the place. Again, we're running up on some lap cars that are side by side. This could play a huge factor if they do not get single file and get out the way up here, because this pack will run them down very quickly. We're coming up here, final laps here of this one. You can just see these guys now. Trucks are getting a little antsy. Drivers are getting a little nervous. I mean, it's go time.
It is go time for sure. At the line, 6 to go. Now these drivers are duking it out, battling quite a lot. Nobody, it's like we talked about earlier, they're not leaving too much space to the truck ahead of them. They're really closing up gaps quickly, and they're pushing. They're actually getting bumper to bumper and pushing each other. A lot more intense than what we saw earlier on, because now it's crunch time.
And I got a feeling they're coming up on that lap traffic. They're going to catch that lap traffic here with a couple laps to go. That's going to be very, very close. You see them storming off down the backstretch into turn 3. They've got at about, it looks like a turn or so before they catch the lap traffic. You'll see the lap traffic come in the picture here. The traffic's out of turn 4. Here comes the pack. That's going to be close to about, what 3 to go here? Yeah, probably going to be very close to about 3 to go.
3 to go when they catch that lap traffic. That's 2 laps away. We see Scott Stenzel look up to the outside, think better of it here. Now I think we're going to see the third lane come into play. You see hanging back there a little bit. That is, who is that up there up on the outside? No, look at that's Toy Woods. Toy Woods now looking to the outside. Scott Stenzel chooses to follow. They don't have enough of a run, though. They need to build up a little more momentum before they make that move. Now they slide back into line on the outside. Let's see what they choose to do. But it looks like they are really looking to go to that third lane and try and make something happen. Up towards the front, though, Daniel Falkingham jumps out of line. Macklin looks to block. Not quick enough, though. Now Falkingham leads the outside line, and he is going to have to get pushed to the front there by Brian Boris Cook. Let's see what they're able to do. 4 to go.
Well, what is going to happen right here, they're going to pass this lap traffic. That's going to close off that top lane that Doey Woods and him was trying. I think Scott Stenzel will go with him, but boy, I tell you what, one of the lap cars, oh man, he got out of the way right in time. Woo! That was close. That was close. He was down on the apron in front. The pack was coming, and they're 3 wide up front. This is where you get really, really dicey. And you see right now, Doey Woods and them knows they've got to get through this lap traffic and stay pace with the guys up front. Daniel Falkingham and Brian Boris Cook out front. And I tell you what, Brian Boris Cook is hanging on to that outside. I still say that's where you need to be. And right now, he has stayed true to form to the outside there. Well, Scott Stenzel's actually looking like he's peaking. I think he wants to try that third lane. And he's going to Doey Woods. Here they come. Well, no, never mind. He left Doey Woods.
Oh, man. Now it's starting to get intense. 3 wide there. Doey Woods up on the outside, falling like a rock through the field. 3 laps to go. 2 at the line. Very close call there.
Oh, they turned.
There they go. There they go. That's the big one here at Daytona. That wraps up a lot of trucks, and there is a green-white checkered, I believe, right?
There is. It will be, and boy, I tell you what, we'll go back on that one and see it again as the yellow flies, but Brian Boris Cook had a run there, had a run. He just got a bump from the back, and, bump drafting definitely is going to, play a factor here. On the replay, we were kind of watching in the live area there along with it. Scott Stenzel pushing for everything he was worth. They were going into the turn. You saw it looked like I think that's David Comstock, and then Brian Boris Cook just lost it. I think he might have had a little bump draft there. The next thing you know, it collected a lot. I mean, David Comstock involved in that one. Brian Boris Cook involved in it. Took a lot of good cars out. Don Rucker Jr. Involved in it. Jonathan Lockhart. But a huge one here, and that will put us in to a green-white checkered. Oh boy. Going to be interesting.
Looks like the only cars that really got through there up at the front are Daniel Falkingham, Paul Mulrain. They got through without much, if any, damage, but Scott Stenzel not so lucky. He took some damage in that wreck. This is where things get crazy. This is the only attempt at a green-white checker that these drivers are going to have. So now this is where everybody's going to be pushing for everything they've got. A lot of big names taken out there. Who's going to be able to work their way up to the front here, I wonder, over these last few laps?
I'm looking at Scott Stenzel's truck. A lot of the damage looks like it's on the back end. He might be okay there, so it might not be as bad as we think because, Daniel Falkingham up front has a little bit on the rear end of his, too. So does Paul. So a lot of those trucks up there, and actually Nick Silver. So, and Joey Catina's probably the worst of them. He's got damage to the front and the back. So hopefully he's going to be able to get that truck going. Probably the cleanest one up top. It's going to be there, Doey Woods. The problem is he's going to be in between either Joey Catina and company up there. So I have to keep an eye on Doey Woods. Does he have enough of a truck that'll make it to the front? And he's going to start in third too, it looks like. I'm going to tell you, Doey Woods right now, I don't think the damage on Scott Stenzel and Daniel Falkingham is going to hurt them because we've seen trucks all race long. Well, as I say that, looks like Doey's going to drop back to 6, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. What's your call here, Jeff?
I don't know. I'm glad I'm not down there driving, having to make a call like this. If I'm out there towards the front, though, I'm going to do everything I can to keep my nose out. If the caution comes out, that will end the race. So you have to be in the lead as much as possible here. Don't give an inch and, think you can make a run there at the end. A caution at any time will bring out the end of the race. So you have to be there at the front and leading if that caution comes out.
And I agree with you on that one. That's another thing with the green, white, checkered. If you don't make it to the white flag, if a caution does fly very early, it is over with at that point. So obviously, if you're leading at that point, you're going to win. If you make it to the white flag, it doesn't matter if the whole field gets junked. If you can make it back to the checkered flag, you win it then, because iRacing won't throw the caution. So we'll have to see. I got a feeling, though, Nick Silver, Joey Katina probably are not going to be able to get up to speed. They've got a lot of damage on the front of those trucks. We'll just have to see what happens. Joey Woods, I think his option right now is he's going to have to get around Nick Silver very quickly, because I don't think Nick Silver's going to be able to get up to speed. And he's going to have to hope he can get up there and hook up with Scott Stencil. At this point here, I get it. This is where it gets really, really interesting. A green, white, checkered. Because if a caution does fly, Joey Katina and Nick Silver can come out of here with great finishes. But it could be very interesting, because those cars are heavily damaged. I don't know. It's going to be... If I'm sitting there where Joey is, this is where I got to really think. Okay, the 41's behind me. If he can hook up with me and push me, which he's got damage now to the front, I don't know. This is what we call it the chess match here, Jeff.
Yeah, that's why this is a chess match here, and we'll see who wins it. Now getting the jump up at the front, Daniel Falkingham with a good jump, but Scott Stenzel up on the outside, holding even. A caution at this point will end the race. These drivers know that, and they are going to be racing hard here towards the end.
I think right now the best bet is for Joey Woods to drop down low or see what he can do and go down to that low line. And you saw it right there, and Joey Katina just cannot get up to speed. That truck is way off the pace, and now we have broke away. Top four guys here. Green, white, checkered rules in effect. Daniel Falkingham leading it for the moment. Scott Stencil up high. Stencil takes the lead. He's got 2 trucks high, 3 trucks low. Well, I tell you what, I've always said it. You don't got to pass the guy. You just got to get your nose out front to win it.
That's exactly it. You just have to have a little bit ahead of them here and cross the line first. But, man, it's not going to be easy for these guys. 1 lap to go. White flag's in the air. Next flag ends it. Let's see what happens here. 2 cars on the outside, 3 cars on the inside. These are the ones battling the hardest and have the best chance at winning. It could be any one of them, though. Let's see what happens.
Absolutely. White flag one more time out of turn number 2 down the backstretch. Daniel Falkingham has a lead. He's got to protect it, though. Paul Moran right there. And Paul at some point's got to make a decision. And I think at this decision right now with Scott Stencil up high, he's just got to push Daniel Falkingham for everything it's worth. Out of turn 4, final time here at Daytona. Daniel Falkingham is going to protect that low line. Paul's going to sit there and push for everything. Scott Stencil's not going to be able to get it done. Paul's going to end up in 3rd, but Daniel Falkingham's going to win it. Oh, as I say that, Scott Stencil slides and gets spun coming across the line, but still finishes 3rd.
What a great finish. And like you said, spun across the line, but...
And then heads off into pit road.
Yeah,
he's going to the pit road. He's going to the garage. Yeah, he's heading into the garage, folks. What a finish to that one. Wow, they brought it home green and clean there. Got to give my hats off to old Paul Moran. He did what he needed to, and I spoke about that earlier on. Remember, I said when you're in his position, there's only a couple things that you could do. Really about the only thing you can do, and that is push the guy in front of you to the lead. And he did. He pushed Daniel Falkingham. He could not go high. He couldn't go, low. So, well, why not? Hey, I came out of here in 2nd here tonight.
Yeah, great run at the end there. What an awesome race. And Daniel Falkingham comes home the winner after that green-white checkered.
And Scott Stencil sideways coming out of that one. What a wild one for him there to bring it home in third. Oh, it was just a fantastic finish here for the Kick-Ass Beef Jerky Truck Series here at Daytona. And that man Daniel Falkingham, well, I tell you what, burning them down, bringing it home here. If we can't find these guys here, get a word with them. Oh, Paul Moran at? I'm trying to find him.
I do not see him.
I don't see Paul, and I'm trying to think. Says Speeds on Pit Road. I'm seeing if that's Daniel Falkingham. Well, you know what it is here, too? This is kind of a little redemption for the mishap and the DQ that, remember, a couple weeks ago that happened to Daniel. He originally won the race, but due to a technical kind of suspension or so forth, he, mishap for his crewman. Anthony Navarro ended up winning that race. So tonight, he got it done here. And I'm trying to find old Daniel. Can't find him. But
I don't see him either.
I don't either. But I'll tell you what, let's bring third place man up, Scott Stencil. Let's get a word with him.
Scott, it's Jeff up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Jeff. I got a copy.
All right. So you finished third there. You spun across the line. But when you see that caution come out there at the end and you're sort of wrapped up in it, what are you thinking when that green-white checkered happens? You're up there on the outside. What's going through your mind?
How do I keep my daughter from drawing with markers all over my arm while I try to win a race? That was going through my mind.
That's talent. That is talent.
Did you successfully do so?
She did good. She did good. She behaved, and she was screaming, "Daddy, win it! Beat that blue truck." That's the Falkingham machine. And we didn't beat that blue truck, but it's okay. We didn't wreck.
Well, that's always a good thing. Well, you kind of did wreck there at the end across the line, but really great run there. Who do you have to thank for that third place run tonight?
My teammates. I race with them all the time on this stuff, and we become real good friends all these years. And it's been fun racing with them and having them on the track, and seeing their success. And I finally get to beat my teammates for the first time in probably a year. Thank you guys in the booth. Obviously, you guys put on a good show here and keep people entertained, and that's most important. Otherwise, it's just guys going around in circles, isn't it? And then sponsor Personal Comfort Bed. Of course, I sleep in one of them, and I'm going to sleep good tonight. And my daughter, she's right to my side. She's my crew chief, aren't you?
Well, that is awesome. I'm going to tell you what. Still there, Jeff?
Yeah. I was pushing it, but I guess my TeamSpeak wasn't working. So that is absolutely awesome, man. That's what it's all about. So congratulations on that run there tonight. Great third place finish, and hopefully you can find some more success next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, I'll tell you what, right there, Scott Stencil putting it home sideways, coming across the line here in third tonight. Good run by him. Well, we got Paul Moran up here, second place man. Bring him up. Let's get a word with him.
Paul, it's Jeff up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yep.
Well, you had a second place run there tonight at the end. What more did you need to get out to the front?
I don't know. I think I had some front damage on the nose, but I was content to ride second.
Well, it looked like it all worked out well for you. You had a good run there at the end. What was going through your mind, though, as you sort of worked your way through that caution and then the green-white checkered? What were you focused on?
Just trying not to get involved in the wreck and just try to go straight. It worked out.
That it did. Do you have anyone you want to thank for a second place run here tonight?
Just DE Designs. And that's about it. And OSR. And the beef jerky series is really good.
That it is. Kick-Ass Beef Jerky is as good as it gets. So congratulations on that second place run here tonight, Paul. You did a great job out there.
Thank you very much.
There we go. Paul Moran right there, second place. I'll tell you what. Good run by him. This guy right here, though, holding on to it here all night long. Daniel Falkingham. Daniel, Joy the booth, got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, maybe a little sweet redemption for what happened several weeks ago there, and you could slap your crew chiefs around on that one, but you put it in victory lane here tonight. Take us back to that last lap. Was you a little bit worried there?
Yeah, absolutely. Just in the trucks, I feel like you just build up so many runs, or you just build up a run. It's really hard to block. Like once they just fly around you. So I definitely was trying to play around on the inside, trying to make sure like those two could get even behind me, and make sure Paul didn't have a gap to get out and pull out and try to pass me there. So definitely worked out. So definitely had to do a lot of pedal working there, and we were able to keep him up behind, and we were able to get the win. It's definitely cool to get the win at Daytona because I know super speedways haven't really been on my side lately, but they've starting to come around on me. Like Xfinity Series and the Cup Series, I've had pretty good finishes in recent weeks, like back when we were at Talladega. So I think super speedway racing is starting to get on my side a little bit now.
Oh, absolutely. Well, win definitely is one thing that will definitely get on your side. And awesome finish here tonight. You had a fast truck all night long. You got that Raging Cajun on the side of it. You definitely was like one coming to the front. Got anybody you want to thank for this awesome win here tonight at Daytona?
Yes. Well, first I got to thank iRacing for fixing their stupid tire deal, so now I have to never go through one of them dry spells again. I also got to thank First Grade Bay Lobster 207 for all their support. I also got to thank John Mush Jr., Raging Cajun Graphics and Designs for painting up this truck for me for the truck series. Also got to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. Definitely going to go back and watch this one. Definitely looked like an exciting one from the booth. Also got to thank everyone here at Sim500, Nick Silver, Sean Castro, the admins, and Joey, and everyone, all the admins here at Sim500. Also got to thank everyone else who comes and races each and every week. It's definitely a lot of fun to race with them. I have a lot of respect for each and every one of these guys. Also got to thank everyone at Team Name for all their support. David Comstock, Chad Coleman, Rich Beasley, Bill Schoonover, Doy Woods, and Josh Parker, Pedro Mojica, Byron Daly, all the guys who come and race with us in Sim500. Also got to thank, I think I already mentioned you guys. I'll thank you guys again for putting on the broadcast. Thank Kick-Ass Beef Jerky for sponsoring the series. And also got to thank everyone who was watching the race tonight as well.
Hey, man, no doubt about it. It was exciting. Went from the start to the finish, and you definitely, like you said, you raced your way to the win. Again, congratulations to our Daniel Falkenham on putting it in victory lane.
Appreciate it, Joe.
All right, there you go. Well, I'll tell you what, Jeff, man, what a finish and what a race here tonight at Daytona for the Kick-Ass Beef Jerky Truck Series. Any final words?
That was some awesome racing right there. They kept it clean. Everyone was racing hard. We saw the big one, which is to be expected, but overall, a really fantastic job by all those drivers out there. Congratulations to Daniel Falkenham on that win.
Well, we're going to leave here tonight at Daytona. For everyone, for myself, Sim500, that man, Daniel Falkenham, putting it in victory lane. Everyone, have a good night.